Today, we're jumping into Ray Dalio's principles. It's his personal framework for success, not just in business, but in life, built over decades running one of the world's top investment firms. So, how can this framework actually help you? But first, let me ask you something. What if you had a personal playbook? A reliable system that you could turn to again and again to get through challenges and hit your biggest goals? Well, that's exactly the idea we're digging into today. So, the heart of this playbook isn't some secret formula or complicated trick. It's actually something much more personal and way more powerful. A clear set of principles.
Now, when Dalio says principles, he's talking about the basic truths that guide how you act. Think of them less like a set of rigid rules and more like a reliable system for dealing with reality, whether you're at work, with your family, or just trying to get through the day.
And he would know. As the guy who founded Bridgewater Associates, one of the most successful hedge funds in history, Dalio is totally convinced that all of his success comes directly from living by these principles. But here's the kicker. He wasn't born with them. They were forged in the fire of a massive failure.
So let's rewind. To really get this, we have to go back to where it all started. Dalio's journey to writing down his principles didn't begin with a huge win, but with a failure that was, well, absolutely catastrophic.
He started out as a pretty normal kid, founded his company Bridgewater right out of his apartment, and became successful really fast. By the early 80s, he was on top of the world, so confident that he went around telling everyone an economic depression was coming. And he didn't just talk about it. He bet everything on that market crash. But the crash never happened. He wasn't just a little bit wrong. He was spectacularly wrong. So wrong that Bridgewater got completely wiped out. He had to let all his employees go. Suddenly, he was down to a company of one, himself. Now, what's really important to get here is how deep the pain was. This wasn't just about losing money. It was personal. It was humiliating. He was at a major fork in the road. And this incredibly painful moment, well, it ended up changing everything for him. He could have just given up, gone and gotten a safe job on Wall Street. But instead, he did something different. He leaned into that failure, reflected on it, and came away with what he calls the single most important equation of his life. And through all that painful soul-searching, he realized something huge. His biggest mistake wasn't actually the bad market call. That was bad, but it was just a symptom of a much deeper problem. The real failure was his own ego, his absolute, blinding arrogance and certainty that he was right. He realized he had to trade that arrogance for what he now calls radical open-mindedness. And this simple equation just nails the core of his entire philosophy. See, pain is just signal. It's reality telling you that you've hit a wall. And if you can reflect on that pain instead of just running from it, that's how you learn. That's how you progress. This idea became his guide for rebuilding his entire company and his life. Okay, so let's shift from the big idea to how you actually use it. Based on this whole pain plus reflection insight, Dalio developed a really practical 5-step process for achieving just about anything you want. So this is the playbook. First, you have to know exactly what you want. Have super clear goals. Second, figure out what problems are in your way and refuse to tolerate them. Third, diagnose those problems to find out what the real root cause is, which, let's be honest, is often one of our own weaknesses. Fourth, design a plan to get around that problem. And fifth, you have to execute that plan with everything you've got. It's a loop, you see. You set goals, you fail, you learn, and you get better, over and over again. He likes to think of this whole process as managing a machine. You've got your goals, and your machine, which is your plan and your people, or maybe just yourself and your habits, produces outcomes. If the outcomes don't match your goals, you don't just work harder. You step back and you modify the machine. Now, for step 1, setting goals. This part is absolutely crucial. You have to know the difference between goals and desires. A goal is what you really want to achieve long-term, like being physically fit. A desire is that immediate first-order temptation that can get in your way, like the urge to eat junk food. The most successful people are the ones who can prioritize their real goals over those tempting desires. So Dalio's story is an incredible example, right? But his point isn't for you to just copy his principles. It's to push you to build your own. So let's end this by turning the camera back on you. Dalio argues that the biggest difference between successful and unsuccessful people is that successful people find and fix their weaknesses. So what's yours? What's the biggest thing that stands in the way of what you want? Answering that one question honestly, that's the real first step to building your own playbook. Ultimately, it all comes down to this: having the ability to step outside of your own ego, to see reality as it truly is, including your own flaws, and then to design a way to deal with that reality. And that right there, that's not just a principle for investing, that's a principle for life.